From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Not a secret garden, how Tennessee is getting all ages involved in digging in the dirt.
I'm Charles Denny. The University of Tennessee Gardens here in Knoxville host a national symposium on youth and horticulture, educating educators about gardening, information they can then share with their students. That story coming up on AgDay.
Will this be the week to plant winter wheat?
But it will be a big boon for rangeland and pastures.
See where some much needed rain is arriving and where moisture is still desperately needed.
The stage is unfortunately set for the problem becoming even worse this year.
Why the mighty Mississippi may not be able to live up to its name this season, right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's happening again. Water levels on the Mississippi River are low right now. This comes after last year's historic low water levels on this important river used to move U.S. ag products to export markets. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us. And Michelle, we're already starting to see some barge restrictions.
Yeah, that's right, Clinton, and barge freight rates have also shot up. And transportation officials tell me they're even more concerned about this situation than they were in 2022 because there are areas of the Mississippi River where water levels are lower going into harvest than they were a year ago. And that could mean a potential shutdown in the river during the peak harvest and export season. It's like a bad movie sequel. While water levels on the Mississippi River haven't hit the historic lows of October 2022, readings in some areas are already lower than at the same time last year.
You look at places like Memphis, Tennessee, we're actually about 10 feet lower right now than we were at the same period last year. And obviously, Memphis was one of the areas that was most adversely affected by the low water conditions in 2022. The stage is unfortunately set for the problem becoming even worse this year. When you look at St. Louis, we're about 3 feet lower right now than we were at the same period last year.
That's restricting barge loading rates by 15 to 25%, and it's also decreasing the number of barges that can move in tow.
And then similarly, with the more narrow shipping channel, you're seeing about another 20 to 25% reduction in the number of barges that you're able to attach together to form one single unit.
As a result, barge freight rates have soared, making the U.S. less competitive on the export front.
When you're looking at freight originating out of St. Louis, we're 77% higher than the 3-year average. For freight originating in the Memphis area, 91% higher than the 3-year average.
Last year, the same scenario widened grain basis levels out 25 to 40 cents along the river, depending on the location, which cuts into farmers' bottom line. And if the river shuts down altogether, it could limit exports of soybeans during their prime season. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Areas of the west and central plains are picking up some rain with heavy rainfall predicted for Oklahoma and Texas. Now, it's estimated anywhere from 2 to 6 inches. That rain coming on the heels of significant rains in the southern plains from an eastern cold front.
Unfortunately, a lot of this rain coming too late for summer crops like cotton, but it will be a big boon for rangeland and pastures and also winter wheat because that crop will be going into the ground, if not already, very soon. And so this moisture will help out with the drought situation across the southern Great Plains following a very hot, dry summer.
Meanwhile, several areas of the country will remain dry this week. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht joins us with the very latest. Matt.
Yeah, of course, eyes are going to stay on the tropics as we go through the next couple of days, and especially into the weekend. In fact, you can kind of see that bullseye in the next 7-day precipitation forecast right up here into New England. But in terms of big pattern shifts that would bring a lot of rain to portions of the United States, basically it's where we need it most, into Texas and Oklahoma, with some heavier showers, perhaps a rumble of thunder, where we could get close to about 3 inches of rainfall. Again, these areas certainly need it in and across Texas. As we go back up here to the northeast, you can get an idea just how much rain we're expecting with this tropical system. It could vary easily. The size of the hurricane is rather big. You could actually see this contour depending on the eventual track push back here towards the west, which would bring in your 2 to maybe 3 inches of rainfall into other portions of the United States. So again, that's that precipitation forecast for the next 7 days. Now go ahead and take a look at this. We got this from Josh getting a little help on his farm in Canada. He said he asked them if they wanted him to help out with this chore, and the quick reply was nope. Clearly some hardworking farm kids there. Great to see. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Heavy rain falling once again in New England as people there also keep an eye on the path of Hurricane Lee. Nearly 10 inches of rain fell in 6 hours earlier this week in parts of Massachusetts, creating catastrophic flash flooding. As for Lee, the Category 3 storm is currently looming in the Atlantic. That storm is traveling north.
We are now expecting Hurricane Lee, or at least the remnants of that hurricane, to reach either Maine or Atlantic Canada. That's likely to occur during the weekend. Right now, the most probable time for that landfall to occur will be late Saturday night or early Sunday.
Now, so far, Lee has not had a significant strike on land. California wine producers are adding up the cost from Tropical Storm Hillary. California table grape growers in Kern and Tulare counties report suffering major crop losses last month when the storm slammed vineyards as they neared the peak of harvest season. With about a third of the crop harvested before that storm hit, California Table Grape Commission is estimating the wind and rain damaged 35% of the grapes that remained on vines. That adds up to 25 million boxes. Now, the boxes hold about 21 pounds of grapes each. Western Ag Crop Insurance Services, which surveyed the damage to table grape crops, said more than 60 million boxes may have been destroyed. The hot, dry weather also impacting cotton production. USDA now calling for all cotton production to be 13.1 million 480-pound bales. That's down 6% from the previous forecast and down 9% from a year ago. Yields are expected to average 786 pounds per harvested acre, which is up 7 pounds from the previous forecast, but down 164 pounds from last year. Cotton prices, however, not reacting positively to the numbers. October futures traded nearly $2 per hundred lower on Wednesday. Markets were mixed at midweek as corn and wheat bounced following USDA's latest report. We'll have some details coming up next. And later, we're off to Tennessee, where these educators are learning lessons worth teaching in the garden today in the country. And be sure to join us later today at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. We'll be there to tape part of our College Road show, and we'll be talking about the big research projects underway involving the College of Agriculture, and of course talk with a panel of ag professors. That starts today about 10:30 Eastern at the Perina Pavilion. Then you can watch Ag Day tomorrow morning for our College Road show at Purdue University.
Ag Day is brought to you by Endzone from Farm Shop MFG. Rehydrate your soybeans from 10 to 13%. On a 20,000 bushel bin, that's a free semi-load added to your bottom line. What are you waiting for? Call to order your Endzone today.
Oil prices hitting record highs for the year earlier this week. That's after OPEC in its monthly report forecasted tighter supply outlook and growing demand next year. OPEC saying global oil markets face a supply shortfall of 3.3 million barrels a day next quarter. But the U.S. Energy Information Administration predicts a more modest 230,000 barrel deficit. Brent crude, the international benchmark, rose 1.8% to more than $92 per barrel on Tuesday. Now, it's resulting in higher prices at the pump, with AAA putting the national average of a gallon of regular gasoline at $3.84. That's 14 cents higher than the same time last year. Due to a spike in gas prices, inflation jumped last month. The Labor Department reporting that the Consumer Price Index rose 3.7% in August. That's compared to a month ago, and that's up 0.5% from the annual pace set in July. But when you leave out food and energy prices, so-called core prices rose 4.3%. Now that's a step back from July and the smallest increase in nearly 2 years, but still far from the Federal Reserve's 2% target.
So it's the highest we've seen since May of this year. So we are seeing it come ticking back up. But again, we know it's largely due to those higher energy markets. No surprise there, since we've seen some new highs. But if that continues, it could continue to move the CPI up more.
One day after USDA's big report, corn posting some gains thanks to some strength in the wheat market. Michelle Rook is back with a look ahead in markets now.
Well, grains ended to the plus side on Wednesday. Naomi Bloom with Total Farm Marketing is joining us. And let's talk about that corn market first. Did we just kind of follow the uptick in wheat on Wednesday, Naomi, or was it a case of just kind of bouncing off some support?
I think it was a little bit of both. Of course, the wheat market, after the report this week, posted a really nice hook reversal to the upside, and that gave some support to wheat. Corn followed along from the standpoint that 475 on the December contract is really fantastic support. And in my opinion, if the market wanted to fall apart, it could have done it after the USDA report came out. As you know, we've got carryout still looking at a stubbornly large 2.2 billion bushels, but the market is really finding some value at these lower levels. And again, 475 is fantastic support. It's seasonally, we're in the window where corn is finding its harvest low. And I think the bigger thing that the market is aware of is that the yield potential may need to come down in future USDA reports. And the reason I say that is because in my 20 years of doing this, when I call out in September and start to hear about some of the silage numbers for corn, what I'm not hearing this year is, well, it's better than I thought.
All right, soybeans, we did close higher today. Was that just following corn and wheat, or, was it a technical bounce, or, was the market just able to get all the negativity from the report kind of digested?
Well, I think it's a combination of everything you said. So we have the fundamental factors where soybeans on the report, of course, it wasn't as bullish as what people were hoping for. That's why the market slid lower after the report. But when you stop and look at the big picture, we still have tight ending stocks for soybeans. So that's going to last us all the way until we have bean harvest next year. So demand is okay for soybeans. I know the USDA lowered the demand on the report a little bit. I thought that was premature, but it is what it is. So we have soybeans today touch near the 200-day moving average. November beans have really good support at the 1330 area. So once the market got down near that price point, the buyers stepped in, and now I would guess that we're going to see soybeans start to trade sideways for another week or two until we get a better handle on where those yields are going to be at.
All right, thanks for joining us, Naomi Bloom with Total Farm Marketing. We'll have more AgDay coming up.
To discuss marketing strategies, call 800-334-9779.
As we just looked at a little bit ago, the rainfall forecast has increased through parts of Texas and Oklahoma. Just want to take a quick look at the severe weather potential for our Thursday. Notice it is very low. So even though we're getting that much needed rainfall, it's coming without the severe weather threat. Doesn't mean you can't have a few localized thunderstorms, but the good news is widespread severe weather not expected. As for the rest of this afternoon, so we've got some cooler air that is digging from the north down to the south. We'll continue to see some of that autumn, that fall-like air move in and across the United States and dip down into parts of Tennessee, also into portions of Missouri and Illinois, Indiana, as we go into tomorrow morning. More of the 40s, mid to upper 40s. Check that out in Ohio and even into Rochester, New York, 46 degrees as opposed to the 50s and the 60s. Again, that's tomorrow morning. Warming up for the afternoon, seeing more of the 70s and the 80s, staying away from the triple-digit heat where we expect that rainfall to come down. So that summer heat, that summer pattern starting to break. Now, all eyes are going to be on the tropics the next couple of days and actually the next couple of weeks as there's multiple disturbances out there. The one that you're starting to see right here, that is Lee. And I got to remind you that what we're looking at is the jet stream. So 30,000 feet in the air with this system. That is not the center of Hurricane Lee this weekend, but it gives you an idea how big and powerful the system is as it traces all the way up into the jet stream. This little U that you see here, well, that is what's going to try and carry Lee back out to sea. But we may get a small nudge back into the west before that trough comes through and kicks it out or carries it out. Ridge of high pressure building back in across central United States. Claxton, Georgia, scattered thunderstorms in the forecast, high around 87 degrees, low of 70. What about Stanley? Check out that low temperature, 29 degrees in Idaho. Hood River, Oregon, 89 degrees for a high, partly cloudy.
Beef prices in 2023 are up. However, beef exports are now down. We'll have details next. And later, we're off to learn life lessons in the garden, and that starts with lessons for teachers. We talked about July being a big month for pork exports, but that's not the same story when it comes to beef. The U.S. Meat Export Federation reporting July exports totaled just over 103,000 metric tons. That's down 18% from a year ago and the lowest in 6 months. Exports were valued at just over $810 million, which is down 19% and the lowest since February.
But we do have some good news out there as well, and some signs of life in the Asian markets in particular. Taiwan up 15% in the month of July, but it's the third month in a row with growth over a year ago. And Taiwan is a very important market for the high-end program chilled business. We have a very dominant presence at retail. But in addition to that, it's also a very important market for some of the alternative cuts, some of the less utilized cuts like the round primals. There's still a lot of value. And speaking of value, we are running about still $400 a head contribution for the exports for the beef supply chains. So the value of beef to the on the export side to the supply chain, it really cannot be overstated.
Now for January through July, beef exports trailed last year's record pace by 11% in volume and 19% in value. Colorado and Wyoming are in a battle over wolves right now. The Colorado Sun newspaper reporting on this. The debate centers around Colorado's North Park Wolf Pack. Now, it's reported last October 3 female pack members wandered north and were legally killed by hunters in Wyoming's so-called predator zone. One ranch owner telling the newspaper that with a step across the line, a wolf goes from being protected from hunting in Colorado to a predator that can be shot on site without a license in Wyoming. Now, the difference in state laws could impact Colorado's plan to reintroduce wolves, which is planned later this year in Colorado's Western Slope area. Many Colorado ranchers oppose the reintroduction of wolves into the state out of concern of losing livestock to predators. Now, last year, Colorado Parks and Wildlife confirmed the state's first livestock killed by wolves in decades. The agency has reimbursed ranchers for those losses. Now, growing your own food can be rewarding. Up next, how the University of Tennessee is teaching teachers about gardening in the country. A garden is a place where school children can explore and learn, but first, the teachers need training to help kids experience that outdoor science. Charles Denny of the University of Tennessee shows us how the university is helping teachers get creative in the garden.
Horticultural education for educators. Bianca Marquez teaches first grade in Dallas, but spent part of her summer in Knoxville visiting the UT Gardens.
Taking the child out to a garden sets the tone that you're not in the classroom. There are no right or wrong answers. We are all out here just as learners.
Bianca says that includes her too. Sometimes teachers need to learn. 125 educators attended the National Children and Youth Garden Symposium, a partnership with the American Horticultural Society and hosted by UT's Institute of Agriculture and the Gardens. Symposium visitors toured Knoxville green spaces, gaining knowledge to inspire the younger gardeners they see.
And we hope that we can provide a learning experience for them to immerse themselves in plants in an education space and to maybe get ideas and get some inspiration for what they might be able to take home.
The American Horticultural Society celebrated its 100th anniversary last year. Every summer it hosts a national symposium for educators, and it was a big honor for the UT Gardens to be chosen for 2023. AHS leaders emphasize youth gardening education. They believe good things happen when you put a child among plants, teaching them to grow something, science in their hands.
They're digging, they're planting, they're measuring, they're doing a lot of academic things without actually realizing that they're doing that. For them, it's fun. And of course, the amazing thing is when you plant something and then it grows.
When you put a child in the garden, it is time for exploration.
The UT Gardens also host a number of youth programs.
So having them out here where they can explore the bugs and the bees and the flowers and the trees, they really begin to appreciate what nature means and how they should care for it.
Across the country, we're back in school, and these teachers will take what they learned in Knoxville and share it with their students this fall. Knowledge gained, enthusiasm spread, learning encouraged. This is Charles Denny reporting.
All right, thanks, Charles, and that's all the time we have this morning. I'm sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.